Welcome to a 1v1 on Langreskaya. This is going to be BOB-RP Company playing as the United States forces in the north fixed base position versus Khan, who I have cast before, by the way, in the south axis fixed position as Ost here. He will be going with a Grenadier start. RP Company going to be going with a Rifleman start. Rear echelon troops moving immediately toward the strategic point here in the center. Rifleman probably going to be following up by capping these points over here, and he's actually sending his rear echelon troops immediately over to the left to back cap rather than down here to the victory point, which is an interesting decision. I've seen it done both ways. A lot of times when you send rear echelon troops here first, you can take advantage of their ability to build tank traps and barbed wire on these choke points, making this an more easily defensible position. But if you choose to do that, it means that you will no longer be able to cross here into your opponent's territory, which, while difficult to do, can be an important component to an American strategy on this map because, of course, holding all 3 victory points, while almost impossible, is important to at least attempt to harass occasionally. So we'll see what Khan decides to do. It looks like he's actually going to skip past this point and move forward towards this one, so it looks like he's intending to harass the fuel, but usually that doesn't usually work out because at around the same time pioneers are going to be up there, and pioneers will generally win this engagement. But you will note that the timing just about works out such that the rear echelon troops do have 20 munitions for volley fire, so depending on positioning, depending on what else the opponent brings up, it is possible to win the fight for this fuel with just rear echelon troops, but it's quite difficult given the amount of yellow cover in the area, which makes volley fire basically do nothing. Riflemen will encounter some Grenadiers over here. Grenadiers will definitely have the advantage at this range, although Riflemen have superior cover. More Riflemen over here continuing to cap. I think using the Riflemen as back cappers can be a mistake on this map. It's better to make a spare squad of rear echelon troops and use them to back cap, and then where the engagements are more likely to happen, have your Riflemen up there, try and actually win some engagements early, force back the Grenadiers, and possibly hold the northwest or the west fuel, even if only briefly. But that being said, having Riflemen over here prevents any incursions by the Axis onto your half of the map. I actually see him taking up a position in this shed, which is a terrible idea because there's only one window and I'm pretty sure they would get focused on quite quickly. Might have even been a misclick because he immediately evacuated thereafter. We also have Riflemen being fired upon by Grenadiers here from their position in this bush. Having 2 squads here will definitely win them this. This is also, I think, Grenadiers outperform Riflemen at this range. This is mid to long range, not really mid-range. And of course we have a sniper on the field, and that will drastically turn the tide of these engagements in the Ostir's favor. I think the sniper is a huge mistake, though, pretty much no matter what. It's incredibly fragile. Almost trivially easy to kill. And I wouldn't be surprised if RP Company is going to field a solution to that extremely soon. Unfortunately, he went with a 4th rifle squad, very significantly delaying his lieutenant, and also very significantly delaying his utility car should he choose to get one. The 340 manpower price tag on that makes getting a 4th rifle squad very prohibitive to do. But hopefully he'll be able to make use of that 4th squad. It'll give him better ability to be present in more locations on the map, and on a map like Langreskaya, that's really very important, since you need to try to have basically half of your army on both halves of the map at all times as Americans if you are going to have any hope of maintaining control of both fuel points, which is hardly realistic, but it's important to continue the harassment, important to keep it at least decapped if you can't capture it yourself. We do finally have some back capping going on back here. It's a little bit late. 4 minutes and 40 seconds is a little bit late to be taking the point right next to your base, which is why I think it's better to generally just start with the points next to your base and expand outward, because the advantage you get from running straight to the more critical points is not actually that large. Especially as United States, because sending the rear echelon troops, they're just going to lose the engagement anyway. The time is better spent just backcapping. Lieutenant taking up a position in the house, and the bar should be able to bring those Grenadiers down. Even though the bar was nerfed recently, it's still pretty okay at medium range over a long period of time, doing sustained damage, and usually placing the bar in a house is the best way to get the most out of it before the lieutenant gets focused down.
I smell orders.
So I think that was a good play, but once he forces the grenadiers away, he just needs to keep himself active, get out of the house. And keep himself capping. And as usual, the map is being stratified in half by this hedgerow. Austere player maintaining very solid control of his side, preventing pretty much any push by bleeding his opponent as soon as he gets vision on the enemy rifleman with the sniper.
The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
And producing grenadiers with LMGs. Probably going to be getting a second LMG upgrade very soon, and he's actually going to be getting a quick pack, which is definitely a good decision. It is just in time for the utility car. His pack would definitely have not been in time as his opponent rushed a utility car. I think he could have had one hitting the field at about 4 minutes and 30 seconds if he had rushed it, but he didn't. Instead, he went with the 4th Rifleman Squad, and that delayed his utility car by a couple of minutes, and as a result, the pack will be arriving just in time to counter it. The utility car is not necessarily that great at harassing Austere so much as it is at harassing Oberkommando West, because Oberkommando West Sturm Pioneers are very easy to wipe models. And the Kuba wagon is also easy pickings. But that being said, his opponent does have a sniper, and the sniper is one of the most prime targets that the utility car can go for. So it's going to pretty much be up to that utility car to take that sniper out, but now that it's supported by grenadiers and a pack, that's going to prove extremely difficult. Had he brought that on the field 2 minutes earlier, that sniper would almost certainly be dead. Repairs going up on the utility car. We do have pretty significant map control going to the American player, however. The Austere player not really a little bit behind on his LMGs. There we go. Second LMG being produced. We also have the sniper taking a minor amount of damage, and we'll note that the Austere player is struggling very much for manpower. And that's because Austere has to purchase Battle Phase 1 for 200 manpower, then they have to purchase the building itself, and then finally another 320 manpower for the pack. So that's a massive manpower investment, leaving him with only 3 grenadiers to contend with the sheer amount of American infantry on the field. But he does have that sniper as well, which was a very expensive investment, and I really just think it's just terrible. Grenadiers are just so much better. But that being said, this player is making very good use of the sniper, making it work with his strategy. Fortunately, his opponent did not field the proper counter quickly enough, and so he will be able to make good use of it without taking too much damage in return. The pack is going to move up, take another shot at the M20, and unfortunately, every time you let a pack successfully connect a shot, even if you do somehow manage to escape, it gets a massive chunk of veterancy, and vetting up an enemy pack is one of the worst things you can do. So even if you do make it away alive, you've still not really done yourself any favors by letting that pack hit you. It takes 2 shots to get this high in veterancy. It will be hitting that one, even if it just takes a little more damage, I think. If it does anything, really. Grenade getting thrown, that was a bit of a waste, I think. It was oddly timed. That being said, the American player just placing massive pressure on this Austere player. He's kind of struggling a little bit. He also lost a full squad of grenadiers somewhere. I must have missed that. Maybe a good grenade or something. I'm not sure how that happened. So that'll be a squad wipe to the American. Nice play wherever it was. I wish I had seen it. Some reinforcement happening over here. We will note that the lieutenant is actually bugged. If you reinforce him fully, well, he's got less than 4 men. He costs 25 to reinforce per model, but if you reinforce him when he has only 4 men, he costs 50 to reinforce. So you can actually get that officer model for 25 manpower cheaper than you normally could if you just spam the reinforce button, which everybody does. So that's something
Our capture
interesting
point is
to
under
note.
attack.
It actually makes the lieutenant the most
Riflemen can now
cost
equip M2
effective
flamethrowers.
squad reinforced because
Riflemen will now
25
be better
manpower
trained
per
before deployment.
model is less than
We
the
now have
28 per model
parachute
that you have to
flares to
spend on
scout
riflemen.
enemy
So
positions.
something to keep
Men
in
are
mind.
Orders!
If you need a squad to tank damage on the front lines, I guess you save yourself a few pennies worth of manpower by putting him in the very front. Lieutenant leading the charge. Sniper continuing to rack up kills. It is now at 1. It has 14. Panzer Grenadiers force away the riflemen there. Utility car dealing heavy damage to these Grenadiers. And that was a wasted Faust, which for some reason people always will just throw Faust just out of instinct, I guess. Just always, as soon as there's a utility car, just throw the Faust on there. But really, it's just a huge waste of munitions. It's just massive drain on your munitions, especially when it's so important to keep those LMGs coming out, because it's the only way your Grenadiers are going to be able to scale into the late game. Each of those LMGs cost 60 munitions, and a Panzer Faust is 25, so that's almost half an LMG right down the drain every time you shoot a Panzer Faust. So if you're not going to be able to follow up on the Panzer Faust with a pack or something like that and finish off the enemy vehicle, you're better off just hitting retreat. The one exception is if you think that vehicle is going to chase you all the way back to your base. If it's going to chase you all the way back to base, then you have basically got no choice but to Faust it if you want to keep your squad alive, because the engine damage will mean that it cannot chase you all the way back to base. We do have a 222 about to hit the field. Upgrade is very close to completing, and the 222 is a pretty hard counter to the M20 utility car. Looks like the utility car is actually going to pull off a pretty nice flank on this pack. Unfortunately, the 222 is done upgrading, and it will be able to prevent that, I think. Oh, he's actually going to go in hard on the sniper, and with one burst it's taken out. He really needs to get out of there, though. Nope, too late. So, not sure that was necessarily a good trade. Panzer Grenadiers getting focused down by riflemen over here. If we take a look, the sniper is 360 manpower, whereas the utility car is 340 fuel or 340 manpower and 20 fuel. So really, I think the American lost out on that engagement. But of course, that is a sniper that won't be harassing his riflemen anymore. So in a sense, the utility car did complete its primary objective, being destroyed. But its secondary objective is to plant as many anti-tank mines as possible, because they actually one-shot Stug-E's and 222 scout cars, but unfortunately, it looks like he didn't plant any. And it looks like because Khan is a little bit strapped for munitions right now, because of how frequently he's been using abilities and the upgrades he pretty much has to purchase, including the 222, that's 55 munitions as well, another LMG going up on Grenadiers, so quite strapped for munitions. He has not purchased a minesweeper, and as soon as you see an enemy utility car, it's really quite critical to purchase a minesweeper, because especially on these roads, here, everywhere really on this map has just prime locations for utility car mines. And if you're going to be going with a Stug-E, which can get one-shotted by the utility car mine, it's just critical to have that minesweeper screening the way, making sure that you're not going to lose that investment just because you drove right over a mine. Of course, in this particular game, the utility car was destroyed before it planted any mines, so it's not nearly as much of a concern. We do have a few squads harassing the left side. The Stug-E also moving up over here on the right, doing some damage. To various infantry, but the pack will be screening the Sherman, not allowing it to move up and assault. However, it looks like Khan may have not been watching his scout car over here. Anti-tank grenade going to go out, but the scout car is at pretty high health, and I think it will be fine. Once again, that is an example of munitions pretty much being wasted with no chance of follow-up. Rifleman moving around, charging the pack. Looks like they will manage to get across the road, but rounding this corner, they're going to be rather clumped. That shot missed. Trying to get into close range for an anti-tank grenade, and we also have time on target artillery. No, white phosphorus barrage being used on that pack, which is a little weird. It would have made sense if he were going to follow up with his Sherman, but his Sherman is busy harassing, in fact, wiping out Panzer Grenadier squad over here, so I think that was a bit of a waste of munitions on the American players' part. I'm not sure what the purpose of that was. Even if he had wiped this pack, he would have easily been able to recruit right next to his base. So I think that was a bit of a misuse of that ability. We do have reinforcement and healing going up in the base. Major has been purchased, obviously, as there's a Sherman on the field, ambulance as well. And the American is pretty much making a full retreat and regrouping, as is the Axis player, neither one in a particularly strong position on the field.
We are losing a sector.
Rifleman moving on the fuel over here on the right, which will give the American player control over both fuels, at least for a moment.
How can we help?
Khan moving his assault grenadiers and 222 up the left side. Sherman moving up the left side as well. If it catches that 222 out of position, it could destroy it. It looks like Khan reacted in a timely fashion and the Sherman didn't really chase. If he had kept moving, he probably could have destroyed it, but he didn't really react in time. Rifles moving through the center, and I'm actually surprised that Khan has not produced any machine guns. Machine guns are extremely effective on a map that's laid out in such a fashion with so few angles of attack. High explosive rounds forcing back some assault grenadiers over here. Khan still only has one pack. Unfortunately, it looks like RP company hasn't really mobilized a push to steal it. Which is really quite critical to do because an enemy pack pretty much renders your own tanks useless, and stealing it can be devastating for the enemy tanks. It looks like, however, he is going to be doing just that now. Nice flank going off here. The Stuggy is in position to harass, but those riflemen with the flamethrower are probably going to be getting in range of the pack. He needs to close the distance, though. Grenadiers with an LMG taking up a position in the house. Now the vehicles, and there is a machine gun on the field being mobilized to counter. The pack does get to safety, and the rifleman flamethrower is suppressed. He needs to retreat that immediately, or he risks the flamethrower exploding and losing the squad. Meanwhile, over here, the LMG Grenadiers doing what they can. The Sherman is actually getting possibly a little over-aggressive, taking advantage of the fact that the pack had to reposition to take a shot at that Grenadier squad, but he quickly rethinks that decision and moves back. We do have an Easy 8 hitting the field as well. So that is good. That should be quite effective against the enemy's Stug E. Not quite as effective versus infantry though, with the high, compared to the high explosive rounds. Machine gun suppressing some riflemen over here. However, we will note that the American still has control of just the vast majority of the map, giving him a huge resource advantage. And the Oster player doesn't get control of the fuel back soon. I think it could prove very difficult to stop just wave after wave of allied tanks. Khan has 150 fuel at the moment, and it looks like he's saving for Tiger. I guess he thinks that getting a second Stug would just be... that would just set him back too far, given his pretty poor map control. And it looks like these riflemen don't quite make it out of the arc of fire of that machine gun. We also have packs set up perfectly to counter this Easy 8. The Stug E uses target weak point on the Easy 8, which gets stunned. He really needs to get it out of there. I'm not sure it's going to get clear though. No, the EZ8 does get destroyed.
The enemy is taking our territory.
The flamethrower burst. 222 is chasing. Oh, but its pathing gets messed up or something there. Changes its mind. White phosphorus going down over here, but the machine gun is retreated just in time. Sherman gets a nice shot on the 222, but it does pull back. Riflemen also have a position inside the house. The American's doing a very nice job of just continually pushing and pushing his opponent back into the base. But the loss of that EZ8 is definitely going to hurt as well. So I think the American's doing very well for map control. That was a pretty big hit as far as unit preservation. Whereas the Axis player now has Vet 2 on the Stuggy, Vet 2 on the Scout car. His pack has Vet 2, Vet 1 on the other pack, so he's doing very nicely on vetting up his core of units. And I think that's now that that EZ8's been destroyed, that's definitely going to give him a lot of room to work with in this next engagement. But of course, it will come down. Placement of his troops in cover and the usage of his machine gun vehicles intelligently. Looks like the Sherman's circling around here, getting a nice burst from the 50 cal on that Grand Squad. Unfortunately, the EZ8 remains are blocking the high explosive rounds from connecting. Oh, not that one. That will wipe that squad. That hurt. That really hurt. That was a triple vet Grenadier squad that just got wiped. Riflemen closing in from all angles, forcing that machine gun to reposition. Very nice push being executed by the American player here, just hitting from every side. Unfortunately, this Sherman really needs to get its use repair critical to get itself back in the action here. Take advantage of the chaos. One rifle grenade, two rifle grenades connecting. Nice use of the rifle grenades there. As soon as that scout car hits Vet 3, it is destroyed. Unfortunately, a full squad of riflemen also went down. So that was a bloody engagement on both, or excuse me, not a rifle squad, but the lieutenant was killed there, I believe. Right? Maybe not. Maybe he had 5 rifle squads? Maybe he lost his lieutenant earlier. I'm not sure. Now it's definitely too late for that Sherman to go in. He definitely should not do what he's about to do. There's still 2 packs there, and target weak point could mean a dead tank. Fortunately, it looks like that usage of target weak point just did nothing for some reason. So, lucky break for the American there. And we do have another EZ8 hitting the field. And the American does have a forward retreat point set up here. Will be healing up and spearheading his next push very soon. Still has control of both fuel points. It's really quite important for Khan to get one of those under control. He does have a Grenadier squad moving there now. Sherman using its smoke barrage to spearhead the next charge. EZ8 doing the same. Kind of expensive to be doing that, though. I really don't know if that one was necessary.
Our opponents are seizing a sector.
Unfortunately, Sherman's smoke is unusually expensive with 30 munitions. I don't know what I think about that. Considering it's not very effective as a defensive ability, it's more of a utility slash offensive ability. I think 30 munitions is a little high, but we'll see what happens. Stug gets the target weak point off on that Sherman, which was absurdly over-aggressive. He needs to evacuate the vehicle immediately. Even if he had tried, I don't think he could have. Immediately focused down by those packs and Stug. Meanwhile, the EZ8 is circling around the top to attempt to punish these Grenadiers, which are maybe a little bit overextended. They need to retreat. Fortunately, the EZ8's AoE is not that good. The Grenadier squad will probably make it home fine. Looks like a rifle squad did go down here somewhere. And that Stuggy is now Vet 3. It has 21 kills. Look at that rate of fire. That's going to be a devastating anti-infantry weapon. It's just so important not to let your opponent's units vet up so high, especially the packs.
Welcome to the death factory. The enemy is overrunning one of our capture points.
Standard Sherman being produced. Interesting. Usually you just keep calling in Easy 8s once you go Rifle Company, but I guess he thinks that that's a little too expensive to do, and maybe he wants the added anti-infantry of the high explosive rounds, considering he's still really just up against one vehicle. Everything else his opponent is fielding is infantry or team weapon based. We will note that Khan is up to 225 fuel now, despite really not holding a fuel point the entire game, for more than a few minutes at least. But he does have enough to call in a Tiger, and that's pretty much because he hasn't even teched past Battle Phase 1. Went straight from Tier 2 into Tigers, and unfortunately that's absurdly fuel efficient to do. You can actually get a Tiger for a lot less fuel than a Panther currently, which makes no sense when you think about it, but unfortunately that's just the way it is. Tiger hitting the field really early, for considering the fact that I don't really have particularly good map control, but we do have harassment happening over here. High explosive rounds probably about to go out on these assault grenadiers. Or no, he's not actually switching, but Khan definitely needs to retreat. Looks like he finally did notice, and the squad will be moving away. Meanwhile, over here, it sounds like the Tiger just killed some riflemen in this building. But I think that they did evacuate just in time. The Tiger continues to move up the left side, and now it's going to be very difficult for the United States player to continue to hold anything over here on the left. And as a rifle company, his best counter to the Tiger is really just Easy 8 spam. His best doctrinal counter anyway, if he chooses to go with non-doctrinal purchases. The Jackson is probably the best he can do. Unfortunately, Easy 8s really struggle to outproduce the Tiger. They recently got a price increase a while ago, but the price is now 400 manpower and 145 fuel. So if you compare that to the Tiger's price tag, which is 640 and 230 fuel, it's almost like 1.5 Tigers in price. Or like 1.3, I guess. Or a Tiger is 1.3 Easy 8s rather. Something like that. So Easy 8s are, it's tough to outproduce Tigers with Easy 8s with that price increase over the course of a game. Looks like he's not watching that rifle squad, and it could go down. Yep, there it goes. He was way too slow to retreat that, and that's going to bring him down to just 2 rifle squads and his rear echelon troops and major. Ambulance has been retreated back to the base. Continuing to push, we actually have 2 fuel caches getting constructed here. Khan trying to make up for lost time. Get that fuel coming in a little bit quicker now that he has a Tiger to defend. Yeah, the American player is very unlikely to be making any aggressive pushes on his half of the map now. Instead, it is Khan's turn to start attacking. Now it is pretty much up to RP Company to just try and hold onto his 2 victory points and run out the clock. That's pretty much the core U.S. strategy, is to push and push and push the 3rd victory point until some sort of unit comes out that's going to push you back, and then fall back into a more defensive stance and try to finish out the victory point counter. It looks like we do have a fighting position up here to help defend the central victory point. The Jackson is also an excellent defensive tank destroyer. Not very good used aggressively, but very, very powerful on defense. And I think we will see that moving up at the Tiger. Unfortunately, first shot hits the ground. Tiger does clear the fighting position out. We do have repairs going up on the Shermans up here in the north. Nice harassment going on the fuel over here as well. Riflemen become pretty combat ineffective by this point in the game, so it's best to use them for harassment and their rifle grenades. Especially as rifle company, because you don't have access to anything like paratroopers or LMGs. And the flamethrower doesn't particularly scale very well either.
They're flanking us.
Easy 8's in a bit of a rough spot. I think he's overextended a little bit. Moving up to screen with his other Sherman. All his shots are just deflecting. He's attempting to use attack ground through the bushes as well, but he's just not getting any lucky hits. He looks like he may be able to clear this pack. Yes, there it goes, but unfortunately the Stug is going to target weak points and the other pack's going to reposition quite nicely. And that is going to be the end of that Sherman, and that is why it's just so important not to vet up the enemy units. He has just so much stuff that can do target weak points and massive rates of fire and all kinds of just really powerful things that are just destroying him. Good use of that target weak point ability. I honestly think it's a little bit too strong though. Mostly because you can activate it immediately after a regular shot. Which I think I've mentioned in a lot of my videos, but I really wish they fixed that. Another fighting position is constructed but rapidly destroyed. Jackson trying to take shots on the Stug E, but unfortunately it does make it away. This pack is well positioned to screen its retreat, and I think that Jackson really overextended there. Oh, unfortunately it was not destroyed, it was just abandoned. Nice Panzerfaust going out on the Easy 8 as well. We do have White Phosphorus forcing the pack to reposition, but I think the Tiger is probably going to be able to take the Easy 8 out here. No, target weak point? No, not target weak point. I think that was just a random chance. Random chance of a crew shock there. The Easy 8 actually deflected the shot. It didn't take any damage, but instead of nothing happening, it got crew shocked. So I think that's just something that can happen to Easy 8s sometimes. Similar to the Yag Tiger often getting dazed by deflected shots.
This is not just
And getting thrown. Light artillery falling.
Pioneers ready for assignment.
Doesn't really do anything. Riflemen will be forced back. Riflemen moving up over here, and these Grenadiers actually have a bar.
The enemy is attempting to
Probably
steal
stolen
our
from the
sector.
lieutenant. Rifleman closing in to attempt to throw a grenade. At maximum range, it is very easily dodged. Clearly Khan was watching the engagement. Not much else going on the map currently. And at this point, the American is not looking too good. All he's really got now is a Jackson. And he's up against a Tiger. A Stug E. And a huge defensive wall.
Ready, set.
Oh no, he also has his Z8 still. Still, that's... He's going to have to play pretty much perfectly with his vehicles to have any chance of winning this.
Taking pot shots at us. Grenade, move! Task complete. Crew ready.
Oddly ineffective assault grenades on those riflemen. That didn't really do anything. I think assault grenades are a terrible ability. 45 munitions, and it just doesn't seem to perform nearly as well as the cheaper Oberkommando West counterpart. But Khan is starting to get a little bit of wriggle room with munitions. He's finally able to use light artillery every now and then, and throw a few more grenades than before. His upgrade, he does have, well actually, he doesn't really have that many upgrades. This LMG is taken from a dead squad, and this bar is taken from the enemy lieutenant, but he doesn't have any other grenadiers to upgrade at the moment. I think filling out his ranks with a little more infantry would not be a bad idea, considering he's got 830 manpower, but it looks like he's just waiting for his pop cap to drop a little lower to call in another Tiger. Riflemen taking the central victory point. Harassment happening over here on the left side. It looks like RP Company is using the elite rifleman training ability to continue calling in veteran rifle squads. Try to accomplish something here in the late game. It looks like those assault grenadiers just threw assault grenades at those Easy 8s. I'm not sure what that was all about. Whoa, that Jackson is getting a little over aggressive here. We actually have white phosphorus going in on the machine gun there, but a second Tiger is hitting the field. Moving straight in on that Jackson. The Jackson is not particularly agile, so Tiger's pretty good at running it down. Those riflemen are just so clumped, but they're actually getting pretty much just ignored by that Tiger, which is circling oddly. Meanwhile, we have an engagement over here. Easy 8's trying to get an angle on the Tiger. Pack being forced to reposition. Rifleman getting pinned by the machine gun. And this pack is actually taking a lot of nice shots on that Easy 8. This Easy 8 is just about dead. Gets caught by the Tiger. There's no chance of escape, and it will get taken out. Meanwhile, the Jackson is somewhere.
WPM-110 smoke strike can be delivered to cover our men.
Where'd the Jackson go? I know it's dead because it's not on his unit list, but I don't know where it died. Well, his Jackson's also dead, so now he's got really nothing left. Just riflemen.
Capture point is being overrun. Our supply line just got cut off.
But my god, did the American come so close to running out the clock. Only 21 points remaining. I think he was banking on that all-in push to buy him just enough time to win himself the game. But unfortunately, it looks like Khan is going to get the victory points under control just in time. And with a final armored push with his Tigers, he will probably be able to end things. Ambulance is in trouble. Riflemen getting focused down by the Tiger. Light artillery also being called in. Oh, there's the Jackson. Oh, I thought it was dead, but it's not. I'm not sure how I missed that. Oh, it's crewed with rear echelon troops. That's why. I saw the rear echelon troops in the unit list and no vehicle crew, so I assumed it was dead. But apparently it's crewed with rear echelon troops. Oh, it got abandoned. It got abandoned a while ago, and that's why it's crewed with rear echelon troops. Alright, it's all beginning to make sense. We do have riflemen moving over here, making a pretty desperate push for the left side victory point, hoping it will be lightly defended, which it is, but Khan is quickly mobilizing one of his two Tigers to go deal with that, and this Jackson on its own is really not going to be sufficient to push back all of this heavy armor. Riflemen making a nice flank actually on the central victory point, forcing that machine gun to reposition. Of course, there's absolutely no way they're going to get the point captured with the Tiger firing on them. Meanwhile, over here, similarly, these riflemen probably are not going to be able to take this point under Tiger and machine gun fire. Using a smoke grenade before making the attempt to capture may have bought him a few victory points. I don't know about 16. Jackson makes a nice shot, although I'm not sure why he's maneuvering this way in reverse. Then again, it actually doesn't matter which way you face a Jackson, because just about anything that ever fires on it will penetrate, and damage is not affected by which way you're facing, just penetration. So when fighting a Tiger, it really makes no difference, because there's pretty much no way that a Tiger shell is going to be deflected by Jackson armor. American player really struggling. Just doesn't really know what to do, I think. He's lost too much. Clever use of smoke may have bought him a few victory points in that push, but the more fortified these Axis positions get, the more difficult it's going to be for him. If we take a look at Khan, we have a bunker getting constructed here. Repairs going up on that Tiger. Very nice. This Tiger will probably be repaired soon. Vet 2 pack positioned there. Vet 3 pack positioned here. Vet 1 machine gun defending that victory point. No vet on this machine gun. Also a little bit wounded. But we do have a machine gun upgrade going up as well. Once again, the machine gun gets flanked. forced to retreat. Jackson moving up. Gets a nice shot. It does have a very nice amount of penetration at Vet 2. I actually don't know if its penetration improves at Vet 2, but something improves, and it's certainly got a nice hit in there, but it does get forced away by the Vet 2 pack. Over here we have some harassment by these assault grenadiers on this fuel point, although resources really don't matter all that much anymore. It pretty much just comes down to the American doing everything in his power to get the clock to wind down. Nice dodge. Squad needs to keep moving though, keep the pressure up. Major's just kind of hanging out. Not really much Major can do since the there's not really much benefit to setting up a forward retreat point anywhere. I guess he could set one up like here, save himself a little bit of travel time. Forcing a retreat from the Major there. Rifleman moving up here on the left. But the Tiger is positioned to prevent them from doing much. He does have access to grenades. In fact, we saw him use smoke grenades a while ago, so I think throwing smoke on the point and attempting to capture it is really the best chance he has now. Smoke going in on this point. Interesting. Just trying to close the distance to those grenadiers, I guess, but they have a bar, not an LMG, so they're not nearly as scary. Tiger moving up. Jackson moving up as well. 2 Jacksons, in fact. A new one's been produced. Oh, wow! Devastating series of shots. Ooh, nice positioning of this pack, though. And that Jackson didn't stand a chance. And it gets destroyed, and that was the Vet 2 Jackson as well. Unfortunately, the Jackson's acceleration is just horrible. A Vet 3 pack, as soon as it enters the arc of this Vet 3 pack, it's basically dead. There's not really anything he can do about that, and I guess he knows that, and he surrenders. So, nicely played by the Axis player here, bringing that game to a victory just in the nick of time. I think that this map does favor the Austerror quite strongly, or at least if it doesn't favor the Austerror, it certainly penalizes the American very hard. But I would say that the Austerror player certainly played well against a very aggressive American push after push, just super aggressive into his territory. So I think despite some setbacks, despite poor map control, he definitely got his bearings and did manage to push forward, retake some territory, and win himself the game. I think that the American made a lot of critical mistakes. I think he had the chance to win this for sure, but he just hurled his units at a pretty strong defensive line right into the enemy base, in fact. A little bit recklessly. And he lost a lot of armor as a result. It can be very difficult as United States to judge exactly when to push and when to pull back and when to just wait for your opponent. And I think that RP Company made some mistakes in that regard. I think victory was definitely within reach, but it slipped through his fingers. But anyway, that'll wrap up the game. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can always send me a message. I'm happy to do a cast for you. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching.